These aren't just pedals, they are a work of art. The first time I've heard about the Sim Racing Pro GTR pedals was when Dan Suzuki told me this Spanish guy who was making these crazy one-of-a-kind pedals. So armed with all of my knowledge of Canal Vivir, I spoke to the creator of SRPs, David, and these were sent for review, and as always I have complete independence and all opinions are my own. What we have here are the Sim Racing Pro GTR 3. The choices generally for higher end pedals are either load cell or hydraulic or a little bit of both. SRP pedals break away from this convention by providing a fully pneumatic system. So instead of pressing against a load cell or against a hydraulic fluid, it's air that is compressed through pistons. Pressure sensors at the back then convert the pressure into something that is usable for sim racing. It's also the first pedal set that I know of with the sim racing equivalent of first-person shooters or maybe cheats, but more about that later. I've been using these pedals for over 2 months exclusively, so this review is now from a long-term perspective. Prices do vary depending on which type of GTR you choose from €770 for the 2-pedal gray to the one I have here, the black 3-pedal version for €1,270. These are high-end pedal prices and the GTRs behave as such, as high-end as subscribing to the channel. Part of the price is the amazing construction of the GTRs. It's fully built of anodized CNC machined aluminum, extremely high quality finishing. The pedal faces, I believe they are a solid billet aluminum. All of it transpires quality in the assembly. Even the logo over here is embossed and then it has this rubberized finish. It's something really nice to see. The pedals are fairly large, so we have 350 millimeters width and it's 440 millimeters long. In a regular extruded aluminum sim rig, they should be okay. However, I can tell you that on my old Simatic K2R cockpit, these fit rather snugly. They were at the limit, and it's possible that in some lower end sim rigs, these might be too big. You may also need to drill some screw holes for other types of pedal trays. If I thought the Logitech load cell pedals were huge, well, these are even bigger. The pedal faces continue the trend of excellent quality and finishing. These are the orange ones, the standard color. They look absolutely fantastic, great contrast with the black. But if you want other colors, there's other choices of colors as well. The anodizing is absolutely second to none. I've used this pedal set for well over a month now, and I can't really see any kinks or any scratches or scuff marks on the pedals themselves or on the heel rest. Generally, pedal faces are left unanodized, so they'll be gray. Therefore, any wear and tear will be ignored. But when there's a color added, and it will fade away, and it will be very easy to see any type of use. In this case, they are fantastic. There's limited amount of adjustment. It's common to all the pedals. The pedal faces have side-to-side adjustment, not on the pedal face itself. There's a few holes at the back, so can be moved left to right and up and down just a little bit. Each pedal has a good range of forwards and backwards adjustment by undoing these 2 screws, a comment on each specific pedal. And while there isn't any springs or elastomers to change the stiffness of the pedal set or each specific pneumatic piston, if you move them up or down, up means stiffer, down means softer, so you can adjust also the stiffness of the pistons. All the adjustments, including the ones for stiffness of pedals, are extremely easy to do and can be done even with the pedals mounted to the rig, of course, as long as you have some space to do them. The base plate has a few holes to fix it to a pedal tray. Some of them are longitudinal for better base compatibility. But once again, this base plate is so large, make sure it will be compatible with your sim rig. The control box is here at the center. It tells you if everything is connected. And fortunately, these are USB-C, so it's very easy to connect. Finally, somebody that builds USB-C pedals. You can adjust the throttle travel by undoing a screw at the bottom. You turn it around and then you adjust the throttle travel. And I can tell you this throttle is probably the best that I've felt in all of the pedals that I've tried thus far. It has this really natural dampening. It doesn't feel like it's super dampened or anything. It just feels like It's so smooth, very linear and progressive. Super, super nice to see and super nice to use. Probably the best throttle pedal that I've ever used. The brake pedal is really nice, but I don't think it's going to be consensual in the way it feels. A lot of people are used to, including myself, to elastomers, and this will feel different because it's pneumatic. Everything is pneumatic. In this case, for the brake, because of the piston and also because of the preload spring, it can be a little bit daunting to get used to it, but it is the smoothest brake pedal, once again, that I've ever used. This system is rather fantastic, and it does feel like a high-end brake pedal from a car. As it is, it has quite a nice progressiveness, and the preload spring will give you a good range for trail braking. If you want to remove this range, it's rather simple. You just remove the piston from the harness, and then you make the shaft longer. Then when it comes back, it will be more compressed. Clutch, it is, in my opinion, the weakest link of this pedal, especially when you are comparing with pedals of this price point. It is a linear clutch like many lower end pedals. It does feel nicer than some linear pedals out there. However, you are paying $1,200 for this, and it feels just slightly better, but still, because I think because of this box, it feels rather more grainy than the throttle, even though I believe they are using the same piston. It is still okay, and if you want to change the travel of the clutch, you just turn this anchor point around. The software takes around 1 minute to load. On the left side, we have the choice of visuals for your pedals. This doesn't make any difference whatsoever. You have a choice of model and color, but the software is exactly the same. We have 3 areas over here: the Pro area, the Custom, and then the Monitor. On the Pro settings, we have something that is very normal to sim racing, which is the calibration, the possibility to add or remove top dead zones and lower dead zones. We have the possibility to increase or decrease the max pressure, and we can do this on the fly. So you can change it with hotkeys. When you see MC and MCZ, MCX, it means Control Shift. So with Control Shift Z, Control Shift X, and you can have hotkeys either on your button boxes, on your Stream Deck, or if you use third-party software, you can also commit those hotkeys to your steering wheels. So in my case, I have the max brake pressure of 40%. Generally, it tends to be enough for me. You have a setting here called ABS. What it does, it takes an average over a course of time. Say, for example, you're doing an endurance racing, you are feeling tired, and you just want the software to check out what should be the max pressure for you. You press the ABS hotkey. That would be on your button box or whatever. It will take that average from your peak brake pressure, and then it will commit the max brake pressure to what is recommended to it. You also have auto brake that works more or less like a DSG gearbox. So you press the clutch, you dump the clutch, and then you brake a little bit. Then the auto brake would automatically brake your car. That means you can press the clutch and then throttle up, so you can have a clean start from the line. Then you have the custom advanced settings, and it will be over here. That this might be considered an advantage or a cheat if you are going that way. It's basically a gray area, and what it is this adjustment area. So I have max brake pressure of 40%, so it doesn't go over 40%. When I press 40%, it will give me 100% output in the game. So as you can see, the numbers are going 1 to 1, 24 to 24. So I'm pressing 24% of the 40%. It will give me 24% on the output. However, if I remove or lower the adjustment area, you're going to see that bar going down. And now it's not 1 to 1. That basically means if you're driving Formula cars or cars without any ABS whatsoever, or even with ABS, but they can't go to 100% pressure, you can lower this, and every single time you're gonna hit that threshold that you want. Later on, I'll show you an example of this. All this technology and features mean nothing if the experience isn't really there. However, the SR pedals do not disappoint. The first immediate feeling is about the incomparable smoothness in the action of the piston. It's not only the pistons that will do this by themselves, the choice of bearings for the pedals mechanism will also contribute immensely. In my opinion, there's really nothing as smooth as this in the market. The throttle feel is fantastic. It's very linear feeling all through the range of motion. The first time I interacted with them, you could really see how special they are. Because it's a pneumatic system, all pedals come with a super smooth dampening feel. It is possible to press them as fast as you want, so the dampening isn't really that strong. It just feels that it has this natural progression through the throttle. This gives you excellent throttle control. In my opinion, it's the best throttle in sim racing. Moving to the brake, it has this hydraulic feeling. It took some time to get used to, more than normal to adjust my muscle memory. After the adjustment phase, what I got was an impossibly fantastic brake. In my day-to-day, I don't really care about the brake adjustment feature as I normally race ACC, and those brakes can be spiked to 100% and trailed off from there. The trail in and back is where the piston works so well. As there are no elastomers, the pneumatic system works the same every single time. There's no variability that can happen going over the elastomer compression threshold. It will respond the same every single time, no matter how much force you put into it. The preload spring works very well for trail braking. The different phases between the spring and the piston are felt well, but at the same time are extremely well feathered between them. This phase difference can be removed by extending the piston to pre-compress the spring if you are into that. This means that the braking and the trail-off braking is always reliable, translating that smoothness into consistent lap times. After all, the brake tends to be the most important pedal for performance racing. The clutch, well, I'm going to be blunt, I don't really like it. It feels like a throttle one, but a little more grainy. To be fair, this is possibly, at least in my opinion, the weakest link of the pedal set. It is just a linear feel pedal with no bite point configurable. It does its job, but after trying so many pedals with bite points, the heel and toe action is definitely better elsewhere, especially at this asking price. Messing about with the adjustment area of the software is very useful for non-ABS cars. For example, the Skippies, the Formulas in iRacing and whatnot. I'm here with a non-ABS car, the A86 tune from Assetto Corsa. So as you can see from the pedals and from the adjustment area, they are 1-to-1 at the moment. So I'm pressing at 100%. So that means if I go down the roads and start braking, this car is very easy to lock the tires. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. We have the hotkeys to adjust on the fly the braking output. We can manipulate the braking output. So in my case, using Shift Control B, I can lower it, say, to 65%. And now you can see from the pedals and from the brake output, they are not 1-to-1. This is extremely useful, especially in non-ABS cars. Now I'm gonna brake. It's far more difficult to lock the brakes in. Of course, I'm losing a little bit of the braking potential of the tire. However, because we can manipulate the output, we can also use the shortcut keys. We can use those shortcut keys to adjust on a fly, making it higher or making it lower to make sure you have the right potential of braking. So you can have your braking threshold for your tire locking just over or just under the tire locking, so you have always 100% of your braking capacity. iRacing adds something similar with manipulation of certain text files. You'd have to go outside and you had to manipulate a text file, giving it a specific output to be the maximum of your brake. Now we can do this on the fly. If you consider this cheating or not, it is really up to you. It is indeed a very useful tool. I think these GTR pedals bring true innovation to sim racing. Pedals are coming in, but mechanically they offer generally the same thing, with a few differences here and there. The GTR break truly with the established norm and provide hydraulically feeling pedals in all pedals, an outstanding smoothness, a brake pedal that is eerily similar to a road-going car, at a price cheaper than one of the standards of sim racing, which are the Oisingveld Ultimates. All of this comes with very few drawbacks, and depending on your priorities and objectives, you can say without any drawbacks at all. You have absolutely great construction, fantastically smooth experience, excellent control, software that brings interesting features. Well, not all of it is perfect, of course. Not everyone will like the clutch. Personally, strangely, I found it grainy, and because it is linear, some will prefer options with movable bite points, like the ones present in the Oisingvelds or IMSIM Talentos. The rubber bump stops at the bottom, they do help with smoothness when the pedals go to zero and also muffle the sound, though when the pedal is at rest, after a few hours it will stick a bit, so the first time pressing the pedals will feel something like it's grabbing. At least I think that is the rubber that is doing the grabbing. As for my recommendations, I think for GT in Formula Racing, it is really hard to find a pedal set that feels as purpose-built as the GTRs. This brake is something else, though I must mention that for sim racing, some will prefer the elastomers and springs for being more familiar or providing a little more physical feedback. Because, after all, we aren't in a real car. As such, if you are into formulas and GT cars and want a more lifelike pedals as well as software that provides lots of features, have a look at least towards the 2-pedal version. 4 months later, I am more impressed with them than I was at Sim Racing Expo. If you are looking for a more traditional set of load cell pedals, take a look at the review of the IMSIM Talentos. They are fantastic as well.